So we've talked a lot on this show about what Republicans will actually do versus what they say they're going to do now that they control the House. But now we have a new look at what Americans think about what Republicans should be doing with the majority. A new NBC News poll found that 55% of Americans think Republicans will spend too much time investigating President Biden and not enough time spent on other priorities. It appears that House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan did not get that message. He just issued subpoenas to the heads of the DOJ, FBI, and Department of Education. Why? Jordan says the Biden White House has targeted parents for, quote, exercising their First Amendment rights at school board meetings. In response, the FBI pointed out that it has not arrested or charged a single parent for protesting or any other kind of behavior at a school board meeting. In fact, the only reason the DOJ was looking into school boards in the first place is because of rising threats of violence against administrators and teachers, stoked by the right's fixation on mask mandates and so-called woke curricula. Time for my Saturday morning Power Political panel. I'm glad to welcome to the show again Jennifer Horn, the former chair of the New Hampshire Republican Party, and Fernanda Mondi, Democratic pollster and MSNBC political analyst. My friends, it's good to see you. Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. Jim Jordan's first shot across the bow, his first subpoena, and it's all about school boards. I'm going to give credit where credit is due, but I don't think it's due here. What is the strategy other than just pandering to GOP diehards?
But that's exactly the strategy. That's exactly what this is about. It's about, pandering to the base. It's about focusing on that, 30% of the Republican primary base who is always going to be with Donald Trump, always going to be a MAGA voter of a MAGA mindset. This is the kind of thing that keeps the base riled up and contributing dollars to the Republican campaigns and continuing to vote in these, incredibly extreme Republicans that we see, sitting in some of these seats. And I just have to say really quickly, Katie, I think about things like the fact that there have been 69 lives lost in this month, in January alone, to shootings that qualify as mass shooting. I think about what happened to Tyree Nichols and the need to talk about police reform. I think about, all of these incredibly critical, important, life-saving issues that have to be confronted. And we've got freaking Jordan in there subpoenaing people about school board meetings. It's outrageous.
Fernand, I actually am going to jump a little bit here and get off of that poll. I want to play a part of what Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had to say on the House floor about the vote to kick off Congresswoman Ilhan Omar off of the committee that she was service on. Let's take a quick listen.
I think one of the things that we should talk about here is also one of the disgusting legacies after 9/11 has been the targeting and racism against Muslim Americans throughout the United States of America. And this is an extension of that legacy. Consistency, there is nothing consistent with the Republican Party's continued attack except for the racism and incitement of violence against women of color in this body.
Fernand, say what you want to say about AOC. Maybe you're not a fan, maybe you are. But should the Democrats be having this type of rhetoric to be able to combat against the type of radicalism that we're seeing that's coming from Republicans in the House right now?
There's no question that the answer to that is yes, Katie. And I think what you see Representative Ocasio-Cortez doing there is really trying to draw and make clear to the American people this false equivalency that the Republican Party is using, if you will, this performative hypocrisy where they're going to say Ilhan Omar is ill-suited to be on this committee because of whatever her views they feel may be on the subject of Israel. Yet at the same time, they're going to elevate into positions of leadership someone like Ms. Boebert in Colorado or our friend Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia, who talks openly about things like Jewish space lasers. So I think it's incumbent not just on AOC, but on all Democrats to point out, look, the Republican Party of today, this ultra MAGA party, they're only interested in obstructionism. They are only interested in the politics of grievance, anything that has to do with advancing their very base political agenda. And as Jennifer talked about at the outset, the audience of this ultra-Republican MAGA party is not the American people. It is their Republican base primary voter electorate who feeds on this and who's only interested in this because they're thinking about their own reelections. So when it comes to actually governing and compromising, you're not going to see any of that. So I think AOC is right to point it out. This is also the Republicans playing tit for tat when under Democratic control of the House, they appropriately removed some of these crazy members of the Congress from their committee assignments. So it's just a game of political revenge. That's what's happening now, Katie.
Jennifer, I got less than a minute with you, but I have to get your reaction to this because, you know, some Republicans even saying on record, this is a slippery slope with potentially huge consequences. You're creating a martyr out of somebody like Ilhan Omar. What does it tell you about how the level of dysfunction is going to be for the next 2 years in Washington?
Well, I think it gives us a peek into what kind of leadership we're going to see from Kevin McCarthy and what kind of leadership or leading we're going to see from the Republican Party with this slim majority that they have. He's correct. This is petty performative politics. It does not serve any sort of function of governance, and it just certainly does not serve the American people in any way. I think what we're seeing here is just the beginning of what's going to be a long, slippery slope, not just for placing people on committees, but for how the Republicans are going to govern over the next 2 years.
My thanks to this morning's Power Political panel, Jennifer Horn and Fernand Amandi. Please, my friends, come back. I'm sorry we don't have more time, but I'm grateful for you guys to be here.